Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today, our special guest is Sandy Hedenberg. She is a certified life coach and speaker, real estate broker, personal development expert, and she is going to teach us some of her methods, what she's learned, give us her advice on how to be our best selves in both our business and our personal lives. Hopefully, some tools and tricks to help us navigate this crazy real estate market that we live in now. She has over 2 decades of experience, and her passion lies in helping individuals uncover the personal stories that drive their decisions, shape their careers, and influence their lives. As a speaker, she brings a unique perspective on personal transformation through storytelling, showing audiences how understanding their inner narratives can lead to greater clarity and purpose in both their personal and professional lives. Through her What's Your Story coaching program, she helps people identify subconscious beliefs, their personal needs, and emotional patterns, empowering them to make intentional, impactful choices. Sandy, welcome onto the show. I'm so happy to have you.
Allison, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And it took me like 15 seconds to realize I was like, you did an incredible bio of me. And then as you went deeper into it, I was like, oh, wait, that's on my website.
It's your bio. I found it on your site.
No, I'm impressed. It's so funny because I include a personal development expert in there because I'm going to jump right into about myself, if that's okay.
Yes.
I have been in real estate since 1998. Actually, my dad was a real estate developer, and I started working in new construction right after I graduated from college. And I was a successful realtor for till 2017. So how many years is 2017 to 19? So almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And then I was approached by Berkshire Hathaway, Fox and Roach, which is a local, obviously a national brokerage, but it was Fox and Roach in my area that they wanted me to actually be a sales manager. And I knew I wanted to do something different than what I had done not just from selling homes, but I knew I was ready for growth and to do something different. And that's how I got into sales management. And I did that for 5 years. And I realized that I don't like managing people at all. That's not who I am. I love coaching and teaching and training and all of that. But why I jumped right into that was presenting myself as a personal development expert kind of makes me uncomfortable, but I've been doing it for 20 years and my own journey of working with my own confidence and issues with self-esteem and issues with anxiety. And it really started as a labor of love for me to figure out what my stories were and where my patterns were and all of that. And it just has evolved over the last 20 years to me getting my coaching certifications. And really, it started with helping myself. And when I saw how much I could do with me doing the work, how much improvement I could see in myself. And then I said, I want to actually work with others as well.
I love that. And that was a personal lead in because that was always like my first question I like to ask, my guests are, how did you get started in your career? Tell us about your journey. What's led you to where you are today? So, I thank you for sharing a little bit more about your background and what you do currently and, making that transition from a realtor to a coach. And I always love having guests on who have that kind of experience. So I think you're going to be such a good person to talk about because when you are a realtor, you get to have that understanding and you can relate so much of your experiences, from what you've been through, and you can really put that into words that, our listeners, I think, will understand. So that's why I'm super excited to be talking to you.
Well, as I said, I'm happy to be here, and any insight that I can offer, I'm thrilled to do that because I actually, when I left sales management, it was in 2022 that I left. I was actually with Compass Real Estate managing there at that time. And I did that for 2 years. And I went and I actually traveled through Europe. I was in Italy by myself for 6 weeks. This has been like a whole eat, pray, love journey for me. But
I love it.
I didn't do the love part, except for everyone's like, oh, this is just like eat, pray, love. And I was like, well, yes, loving myself. That was very much a part of it for me. But I stepped back into real estate after I got my life coaching certification, because someone actually said, Sandy, are you still in real estate? And there's moments in life that you're literally like, I hear you, universe, or I hear you if you believe in God, or I do believe in God. And it's just, you hear something and then you're like, I'm never not going to be in real estate. Like, it would almost be a disservice to me and to others to not use my experience with working with realtors and working with buyers and sellers for almost 20 years, to not use that within my coaching business as well. And I think that right now, with everything going on, we are literally, there have been so many changes. I mean, after really it started, I was managing when COVID hit, and I don't know what it was like in Ohio when you guys went through COVID, but it was really learning how to do our business in a completely different way with the masks. Did Ohio actually shut down completely during COVID? Or
luckily, they deemed real estate as a essential service. So we lobbied at the state house and were able to keep working during COVID. But I want to say, and I could be wrong on this, so anyone listening, don't take this by 100%, but I want to say we might have been shut down for like a couple weeks while we were lobbying with the governor to keep us open. So that sounds very familiar, but I was just coming on board during COVID. So that's a little vague for me. But yes, so I believe we were shut down for a little bit, and then we were deemed essential. So we were able to start working again.
It's very similar. So I'm actually licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So New Jersey, we didn't skip a beat. It was similar to yours, where it was 2 weeks. And then it was like, okay, you have to wear masks, you have to wear booties, you have to wipe everything down, you have to do all of that. Pennsylvania was completely shut down. I don't know for how long, but you weren't even allowed to show houses or anything like that. But I saw the stress and anxiety of, at that point at Berkshire, I think I had probably 150 agents that I was managing. And it was trying to figure out, how can I show up from a leadership perspective to help them control things, or how to help them manage their anxiety in a situation that there is no managing your anxiety. Like, it was not only like, I'm worried about my finances. I'm learning now, I'm showing houses on FaceTime and selling houses. Homes were being sold sight unseen. There are all these different variables. And if there's one thing that I'm sure you would agree wholeheartedly, is that realtors are incredibly resilient, and they bob and weave and do what they need to do to get the deals done. And I think that that's why so many of them really, I know a lot of agents that they were very successful during COVID and after, because they really kind of took advantage of the situation and made the best of it, kind of thing. But I really started saying, like, what is it that people can do every single day to control their stress and their anxiety? And then I really started exploring meditation, visualization, and my most recent coaching certification that I actually just got, it's IAT, which is integrative attachment theory coaching, but it very much focuses on the subconscious. So I really started learning about the body and how we can control our response to things from the things that we do every single day.
That's super interesting. And I feel like probably so relatable to realtors and the work that we do every day. From your perspective and working and coaching with your clients, I'm sure you coach some realtors and people that are in the industry. What are some of the things that you're seeing come up when you're working with clients? Are there any common themes or something that you're seeing a lot of that your clients are struggling with or may need assistance in?
I would say the biggest thing is, how do you keep yourself going every day, right? That I said one time, I was actually on another podcast, and I said, as a realtor, you are unemployed every day. I'm sure you've heard that. Your audience has heard that before, that you have to get up and get hired again, go on interviews every single day. And if you're not having wins, which there's so many agents that have not had wins over the last couple of years, or they've had, I don't want to be negative on a podcast, but a lot of agents have had really, really challenging years, at least in my market. And it's, how do you actually keep going and take care of yourself and your needs in the best way possible? That's the thing, like the juice that keeps you going when there's no reason why. Like, if you keep putting multiple offers in and jump in at any time, I imagine Ohio's market is similar to New Jersey with this. But if you're putting multiple offers in and nothing is getting accepted, how do you actually control like your response to that? And that was something that I actually, through my most recent coaching certification, I actually learned a lot about our response to situations, because our emotions are the driving force of every single action we take. So from that perspective, if you're putting in multiple offers and nothing's being accepted, or you're missing out on listing appointment or listing contracts because, you didn't cut your commission or whatever it might be, how can you manage your response to that in an empowering way rather than a disempowering way? And it's really through mindfulness and awareness, is from a coaching perspective, I would say. That was a really long answer to that question.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. And you talked about some of the solutions and ways you're helping people through that, which I do think is so true, and like you said, it's really been a period of change since those COVID times. And there hasn't been true normal year, I think since then. And so I think a lot of people are feeling that way and feeling, the challenges and the toughness of being in the industry and that pushing through, even though it seems like nothing's going your way. I'm sure a lot of people have been feeling that too. And, when you're focusing on your mind and just getting your mind right and knowing I'm having this emotion, here's how I need to react to that. I think that's the kind of what I hear you saying is a really great way to kind of help some of that anxiety that people are feeling.
For sure, because it's like, what meaning am I giving this whole situation, right? So I was talking to a friend of mine who's a broker as well, and he said, not only do you have to sell a house now and you have to fight for the business, but you also have to dance on Instagram in order to make it happen. Like, the landscape of real estate has changed so much, and we're being pushed out of our comfort zone in so many different ways. And one thing that I would say that I would coach a private client, or when I was coaching agents, it's focus on your strengths, like maximize them, lean into them, certainly try and improve upon your weaknesses. But if you're not comfortable with dancing on Instagram, that's okay. Because when you think about it, if you're already navigating like a challenging situation, and then you're going to push yourself to do something that I wouldn't feel comfortable dancing on Instagram. Like, it's just not who I like. And I like to dance, but not to get real estate business. But focus on where your focus goes, right? So it's like, if you're really great with relationships and outreach and community and what community service, I've always been a proponent of that. Get involved, because I'm such a believer in the universe. And when you're actually being of service and doing good things, that your business actually benefits from that as well. I think that's another way that you can really manage your stress and anxiety during challenging times. Like, when you think about it, it's like the fork in the road. It's like, I'm really stressed out. I can't make anything happen in real estate, and I'm struggling right now, financially, emotionally, whatever it might be. What can I control? One, you could do mindfulness, which would be like meditation, visualization. But the other thing I would highly encourage people to explore is go do something to be of service, because your brain cannot think of two things at the same time. I mean, we do. Like, everyone's going to be like, yes, I can.
Multitask. I do everything at once,
No, it's like, try and think about vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream at the same time. You literally can't do it. Like, that's a really easy test to do.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you're a big animal lover and you feel called to go volunteer with an animal shelter, or you want to go work with kids, or go do community cleanup, you're going to feel the reward there. So you might not have the reward with getting the listing agreement right away, but I guarantee you, your business is going to benefit from you doing something of service as well. That's something that I've absolutely been kind of promoting or encouraging in my private clients that I've been working with, and even in conversations with friends in the real estate industry, that I think that that's one of those things that it's mutually beneficial for all parties involved, and it can really help you during challenging times.
I love that. And that probably sets off the same kind of chemicals in your brain of that happiness of just getting that listing deal. It's probably lighting up that same area of the brain when we do those service things and get out there to help make our community better.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the type of thing that I said one time about having an honest day's work, right? So if you're calling and no one's answering, you're trying expires, you're trying all these things, and it's like nothing's going your way. And it's 100% normal for your response to be discouraged. If you can go volunteer at an animal shelter or go do a park cleanup or something like that, you see the results of what you actually did that day. So from my perspective, that would be something really, really good. And then I'm also a big believer on what you focus on grows. So if you're focusing on something that's benefiting other people, you're putting good energy out there, you're going to get some type of response. I don't know that your phone's going to ring and you're going to get a listing that day. Like that would be really amazing if it did. But I believe that more good stuff will come your way when you actually are in a position like that.
Yeah, I think so too. That's a great bit of advice and a great tool that, you could easily do, on a day-to-day basis. If you're having a bad day, stuff isn't going to go in your way, like you said, can control, get out there, get back to the community, and that's going to hopefully trigger some positivity and positive things to come, I think. Absolutely. And another thing, you kind of mentioned too is focusing on what you're good at. And you mentioned this, and I think so often in the real estate world and working with realtors, is you feel like you have to say yes to everything, or like you have to be good at everything. You have to be really good at dancing on TikTok and really good at signing contracts and closing deals, right? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that is so important to note that it's okay. You don't have to be, the do all, be all, do everything, you can to get those listings, that it's okay to focus on what you're really good at and don't feel that pressure of, I have to exist in all these spaces.
Yeah. And be authentic, right? Like, I think that that is one of the best salesmanship qualities that you can have because people relate to that. And when you feel comfortable with yourself, they feel comfortable with you. I don't have to say, but be empowered, be educated, be knowledgeable, know the market, do all the things. But I also think when you come from a place of just being you and showing up in the way that you would want someone to show up for you, that is golden in sales, in my opinion.
I think so too. And especially with how educated the average consumer is these days. I
I
mean,
know.
and
Yeah.
the amount of choices that clients and consumers have, they're going to be able to really sniff out if someone is being genuine and real and what they're portraying versus someone that's not. I think that is so big too, when we're dealing with consumers who are able to Google things, and this DIY kind of persona is out there with a lot of people who feel empowered to go at things with more knowledge than maybe that they have before. They're going to be able to see that and tell that, and you might think you're going to get past them, but they're really smart. These consumers out there are really smart, and they're going to be able to tell the fake from the real.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that in mind, because I'm thinking about energy as you're talking, which you have wonderful energy, by the way. Like, you just have such a sweet smile, and I can feel like your enthusiasm. So they are lucky to have you. I just wanted to say that to you.
Thank you, and I feel the same from you. This has been a really, really good discussion. So yes,
Thank you. I appreciate the positive feedback.
yes.
What I was going to say is that, and I can't remember the saying, but I had a manager when I was at Compass that he said, you can be the thermostat or you can be the temperature, and that we dictate the temperature in the room. So he said, you always want to be you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So when you're working with clients, when you think about it, if your set point is super anxious, stressed out, worried, like that energy, and people might not be able to see that, but you can feel the energy, right? And you show up and you meet your buyer clients, or you go on that listing appointment, they can feel that energy. And that's not going to make them feel that confident in what you're bringing to the table. So then it goes back to, what can I control? I can absolutely control getting some type of a meditation practice into my world, because how you start your day is how you spend your day. So many people are like, they picture, and I'm a meditator, that they picture that's like you're going to be sitting there for 30 minutes. It's not that. It's not like Eat, Pray, Love, that she sat there in the ashram for, 17 days. No, you can literally do 5 minutes in the morning, and I am setting my intention. I'm getting my brain in the place that it should be. And then you're going to walk through the day differently. You're going to show up for your clients differently. And you come to a room from a calm space or an empowered place, and you just have that steady energy about you. Your clients are going to feel that. And I do believe that that makes a difference in your ability to get business, for sure.
Yep, I do too. I think that that's so important, how you're coming off to your clients, the mindset that you're in, that's going to radiate throughout you in those meetings, those buyer consultations and selling consultations. And I agree with you. I think consumers and potential clients that you're working with are going to be able to pick up on that super easily. And it is going to make a difference, I think, when people are trying to decide with who they want to choose to proceed with their home buying and selling needs. I want to talk a little bit about your personal method and what's your story. which I think is super interesting. And I want to dive into a little bit more of your mythology with that, how you've seen it really work for you and others. So tell us a little bit about that and kind of a little bit what it entails and how you've seen it really be successful for your clients.
So it was interesting. I spoke at Triple Play, which is the real estate convention for New Jersey, Pennsylvania. And I think it's New York. Yeah, it's definitely New York. And I did a "What's Your Money" story. And I didn't think anyone was going to show up because I'm like, no one cares about this stuff. But I actually had like 30 people show up. And I was like, wow.
Amazing.
It was a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. And I was like, people actually care. And they were very intrigued by what I told and how much our subconscious beliefs affect our bottom line, right? So your story can be the way that you show up in relationships, which is where the attachment theory comes in, which is the coaching certification I just went through. It can come up in your finances. It can come up in your career. Your subconscious dictates everything because you have certain stories about yourself. And what I saw in myself, I had some very, very limiting beliefs about myself. And they were turning into patterns. So I used to have a belief that I don't finish things, which we started this call talking about me starting a podcast. And I said, I would never stick to it. So clearly I need to work on my story a little bit more, right? So when you think about it, if your story is that you're not good at listings, or you're not good at the technology, or you're not a great negotiator, or you're not good enough, like when I tell you the number of people that walk around and their inherent belief, myself included, has been that I'm not good enough. So you're always coming from a place of disparity, that it's like that no matter what you do, you never come from a place of I feel satisfied or proud of what I did. I could always do better. And in one sense, someone might say, well, that's a great attribute to have in sales, but it's actually not. Because when you think about it, again, it's your emotional set point. So if you're always feeling not good enough, what actions are you going to take? How are you going to show up for your friends and family? How are you going to show up for yourself every single day? Like to me, I was so happy when you sent the email and said, we're going to look at how to be happy and successful.
Yeah.
Because I think in our world, in our country, and especially in the real estate industry, I just want to be successful. To me, there is no success without happiness within some measure. There is no success without having a level of peace and gratitude and just walking through life in a way that it's like, I'm doing everything I can for myself and those around me. I'm being of service and I'm living a good life and I'm making great money. Like that would be the best plan for me and for so many, I would say, or best outcome.
Yeah, definitely. And it's almost like, what's the point of being successful if you don't have, if you're,
Miserable.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what is the point of, yes, you have this amazing business and this, incredible amount of money. And I mean, the saying, it's like money is not going to make you happy. That's never going to, solve the world's problems, or, you could have as much money as you want and be the most, miserable person out there. So it's like, if you aren't happy and right in your inside, you could be making as much money as you want to be making, but will you truly enjoy it and be satisfied if, your inside isn't right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And to me, I think that's what is most important, is making sure that you are happy and also your business is thriving. And I think they go together like so much, right? I mean,
So it's funny. It's one story that people really have. And I saw it all with all my agents, my friends, that it's a struggle. Life is a struggle. Like that at work, it's a struggle. Everything is a struggle. And I'm not saying it's not, but that's a story in itself. So if you think of it from the perspective of your story is like you having a pair of glasses on, that this is how I'm going to see the world. So your brain has the reticular activating system, which actually will pick up like everything that comes in. There's millions and millions of bits of data that come in every single day from the moment we open our eyes. If you believe that everything is a struggle, everything you see is going to be a struggle. If you believe that people like you, if that's your belief or that's your story, then you will have positive interactions with more people than not. If you believe no one likes you, which is a story, how do you think you're going to walk into a listing appointment or a networking event? That's why this story, to your point with the question of how does it benefit my clients, when we really go down that road of what are your beliefs about yourself, and they start looking at it, they're like, I didn't realize that this has been a pattern. And the older you get, I'm in my 40s, the older you get, you see the patterns there. And then you're like, okay, if I don't make some changes and do some work, and you can do it through subconscious reprogramming, there's all different things you can do behaviorally. But if you don't do that work, you are going to keep getting the same outcome. So I would encourage people, if they're kind of curious about themselves, look at their own patterns, whether it be in relationships and financially, professionally. And I feel pretty confident in saying that you could look back and say, I realized when I picked that story up, my mom said something that made me believe this about myself, or I was bullied in school. And that's when I took that, or that teacher, I had an incident. I was playing hangman in the third grade and my teacher, it was a whole thing. But anyway, I took the belief on that it's not safe for me to publicly speak. There's all these things that happen during our childhood. That's the biggest time. It can happen later in life, but that's usually the time that then it becomes a belief about ourselves, which then dictates our outcome for the most part.
It sounds like that becomes so limiting. It really is. We're holding our own selves back. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. Like if you're okay, we'll walk through a situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So say you have a limiting belief that no one likes you, right? And I want you, okay, you get dressed, you do your hair, you do your makeup, if that's your thing, and you're driving to that networking event. But deep down inside, because something that happened to you in the second grade, because Molly told you that you were a terrible softball player and no one likes you. So then you took that belief on, and 30 years later, 40 years later, whatever, that same little girl is still inside of you. And you're driving to the networking event. How do you think you're feeling as you're driving to the network event?
Yeah, not confident,
anxious. Your palms are probably sweating, armpit, like your heart's racing a little bit. And you don't even realize what you're thinking. What you are thinking is, I don't even know why I'm going to this. No one ever likes me anyway. Did I bring my cart? Like you're completely off your game, right? And when you think about it, physically, you probably are having upset stomach, maybe like you're not feeling right. You're getting the dry mouth. You're getting all these things, right? And I'm saying this because I've been that person. Literally many, many times.
Yeah, I think we all have. Yeah.
And it's like, so then you walk in the networking event, you run into someone, you're shaky as all heck. You're like, I need a cocktail just to get through this. Hopefully it's there if they have alcohol there, but it's like, and then every interaction that you have, you're telling yourself that people don't like you. So even if they thought, wow, Allison is so cool. She has such great energy and she's smiling and she's gracious and all these things, you're not going to hear any of that. You're only going to hear your internal voice, your inner critic that's saying, no one likes me. Like, I'm not good enough.
Wow. And you're telling yourself stuff that's probably not even true.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just before you even get in that room, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. And then when you think about it from the emotions, right? So it's like you have a thought first, no one likes me. Then you have the emotion. Then the emotion is going to dictate your next action, right? So someone gave you their business card at the networking event and said, hey, I work in mortgages and I'm working with a buyer right now. I'm just using this as an example.
Yeah.
And then you see the card and you're like, I don't even think they really I'm not even going to call them. And you literally talk yourself out of taking action on your own behalf because what Molly did to you in the second grade. And I'm saying, no more, not on my watch. Like, and that's my new thing. Like, because we all have the tendency to be mean to ourselves. It's just human nature, depending on your background. My new thing in life is not on my watch. I'm not allowing that anymore.
And to all of us listening too, we are not allowing it with you guys either. So no more of those beliefs, no more telling ourselves stories from what happened to us years ago. I mean, it's such a great way to catch ourselves when we are believing that way and stop it before, it does any further harm to us. And, I think you've given some really great ways that we can talk ourselves out of it and realize those patterns and be able to stop it and make sure it doesn't happen on our watch.
Yeah. And what you do, because people are like, Sandy, I don't know what I'm thinking about. And believe me, I've done this rabbit hole where I was like writing negative thoughts and it's behavioral modification where you write the negative thought and then you actually write the counter to that. But all you have to do is get in tune with your body and say, like, I feel a little anxious right now. And we don't even realize why. And it's just becoming familiar with your body. Like, put the phone down, tune in with yourself. Like, do you feel anxious in your throat? Is it your heart's racing a little bit? Or your hands a little tingly? And just start thinking. You would not feel anxious or worried or angry or whatever it may be unless you were thinking something first. So then once you become aware of what you're feeling, then it's, what was I just thinking? I was just thinking about what Molly did to me in the second grade. That's you might not even think about that, but it's like when you think about it, there's such a connection there. And I work with clients sometimes that they're like, Sandy, I don't even know what I'm feeling. And I'm like, then I want you to put your phone down. I want you to shut all your podcasts off. I want you to turn the lights out to it. And I want you to sit there. And I have this one client, she's like, Sandy, I can't do it. And I'm like, yes, you can. I know it's scary to feel your feelings, but I'm telling you, that's the only way you can really, A, become aware of them, and B, change what you're thinking, is you have to actually go through actually feeling your feelings, which can be super challenging and scary.
Yes. It's definitely scary that no one wants to sit in their feels, in a very uncomfortable place to be sometimes. But I think the benefits of doing that are greatly worth, putting yourself through being uncomfortable and feeling those things and putting the phone down and sitting with yourself. Definitely beneficial and can really make you the best you can be in both your personal and your business. Well, Sandy, I want to thank you so much for joining me. This has been so fantastic. I know I've learned so much from talking to you. I have some work to do on what I'm telling myself too. I think everyone does. But I want to thank you for coming on, for sharing a little bit more about you and the work that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity so much. And one of my favorite quotes is, we teach that which we most need to learn. So every time I do something like this, whether it be a podcast or a class or whatever, I remind myself of the same thing. So I've gotten so much value out of our conversation as well. So thank you for that. And thank you to your listeners as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree with you. We all have that work to do and can all be better at practicing, what we're preaching. So thank you again, Sandy, so much. And to all of our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back with you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.